Welcome back to The Bounce, everyone. Stadium Rant's flagship NBA podcast. I am Kevin. With me is James. James, how you doing, man?
I'm good, Kev. How are you tonight? How you doing, my friend?
I am so thrilled. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy there's not a good Thursday night football game to draw us away.
Mm. You don't want to watch Baker play? Come on, man.
I mean, I'll watch the highlights. I'll catch the highlights for
Yeah.
sure. And speaking of highlights, we have a few to just start you off. Let's get us warmed
Mm-hmm.
up a little bit. And for those of you maybe Spurs fans, people are feeling a little bit down. The future could be bright, okay? Because you might have this, man. Look at that handle. Oh
Oh
my
my
goodness.
God, Kev.
And then it's the floater
Just
from
the,
three.
the floater, like just icing on the cake, just floater from
Oh,
three.
it draws a foul almost every time as
Because
well. I don't know if you've
he's
know.
7 foot. He can reach the wall from right here.
He's
He's
putting
like
his
he's like the Monstars, man. You know.
yes, exactly. It's Sean Bradley with a handle and a jumper. And it's just filthy. He does
It's
that running
unbelievable.
floater. His knee hits the defender in the sternum and it's a foul. And by rule, I mean,
It,
it's
it, it
it's yeah,
is, but
it is a foul. It's not one of those Chris Paul, James Harden offensive hooks, Steph Curry. It's not something they're going to be able to change the rules about, I don't think, when
nope.
it comes to Victor. You're just going to
Adjust and hopefully figured out, like, question mark.
wait for Bol to continue to improve
Oh, I can't wait
his
for the
skill
finals
set.
matchup between Bull and Victor.
Now, a defending team could always take the Rudy Gobert approach for stopping Victor. And if you don't know what I'm
Yes,
talking about, well,
this is how
you're
this
about to see
works.
it.
See, that works. Just keep them off the field. You just keep them on the ground. They
Go for the
can't score.
chokehold.
Yep.
Uh,
He gets knocked down. He's no way. And I ain't letting this guy get away with that.
wow. And my thing with this is I didn't see, correct me if I'm wrong, James, here, if you saw something else. I didn't see what was done to Gobert that got him so frustrated.
I don't know why he was so mad. I don't know. I saw the same clip you did, and I was like, what is going on?
It looked like incidental contact all the way until Gobert decided to trip him. My only thought was that maybe words were said because with that particular
Probably
angle, you can't see.
something. Who knows? Something had to be said somewhere, right? Like
But
and that man just goes wham. He trips him nasty.
that's dangerous.
Yeah.
And that's what I was going to say. Unless, I mean, there are certain things I suppose that could be said where you'd say, all right, well, maybe it was warranted, but
Yeah. But man, I don't
yeah, there's
know.
no room in the game for that.
I agree.
Freak accidents happen. To this day, I'm still mad at Zaza Pachulia. Okay. Like we
Mm-hmm.
don't need any more room for potential career ending injuries
No.
out there on the court. So Rudy, he's always been a little out there, a bit of a wild card. This was uncalled for. But while we're here talking about Minnesota, I think it's worth mentioning that they seem to have figured some things out, and it is what we thought it was, right? The calls were
Yep.
coming from inside the house.
Mm-hmm.
Their two big system did not work.
Just didn't. It's just not. Kev, you've got experience with this. You dealt with this for years. It just doesn't. It's not gonna unless one of them's Victor. It's just not gonna work.
It really doesn't. You're right. So get used to it now, gang. We're going to talk about the Pacers a little bit tonight.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
in this instance, having watched the Miles Turner, Domantas Sabonis experiment up close and personal, and then now getting to witness what both guys are doing when they're not clogging the room up for each other. They're both having pretty great seasons out on their own, and their teams are playing really well around
Mm-hmm.
them. The last Twin Towers situation that I remember working really well was David Robinson and Tim Duncan, which
Man,
two
throwback.
completely different styles of
Mm-hmm.
play, right? And other than that, like I'm
In a
thinking about the
different
times
era too. It's
yeah.
just that was just different. It wasn't the pace and space. The three ball wasn't is important. You're talking the 3 out 2 ins back in the day. Like that's just so long ago.
And it's not necessarily anymore about the size of the player, and I think that's why the Victor
No.
clip works, because you mentioned it, like you just need to be athletic enough to the high pick and roll is so dominant in today's game.
Mm-hmm.
Like you are gonna get buried if you don't have guys who can defend against it. And when you're
Yep.
putting Towns and Gobert at the same, it's just, it hasn't been working for them. And I don't think it's going to work unless one of them, namely Cat, I think completely adjusts his offensive role.
Yeah.
But that's going to diminish what he does so much, right? Just to say, hey, Carl, we're just going to make you a standard stretch 4. Okay.
Yeah,
It doesn't feel right, does it?
no, it just, and that was their justification, was the fact that Cat could shoot, like maybe that this could work, but they went all in on something that didn't make sense from the outside to anybody, and now seeing it doesn't make sense. It was correct. And now that Cat's hurt, and all of a sudden they've won 2 or 3, they beat your boy, sorry, and then they beat the Grizzlies, and they lost a shootout to the Thunder, but it looks like what we thought it was. It's better when it's it's spaced out more.
Yeah, they're going to have to figure out a new rotation and do things. It has helped some improved play by D'Angelo Russell, which we talked about last week.
Mm-hmm. Yep. He had 15 in the fourth against the Pacers the other day.
Yep, clutch, 15 of his 28.
Yep.
So he paced the team, I believe, that night, which is something we said would absolutely have to happen. Him and Edwards. And Edwards, I think it was what would have happened if they hadn't made this move for Gobert. Honestly, we're going to see it. It's inevitable with Anthony Edwards, like Thanos. But it's not going to work. I don't know how it's going to work when they bring everybody back. So I'm happy for the Wolves that they're figuring it out. Hopefully they're actively thinking about this and comparing what didn't work and what is working now to say, hey, this is what we're going to do. But it feels like the Russ Westbrook trade all over again. Everyone saw this and said, no, that's not going to work. Why did you do this? And now here we are. It's pretty early. To be fair, it's very early, and I will give them that concession. They haven't shown me anything that suggests that they will figure it out unless someone stays hurt.
And then Cat's out for at least another month. You miss so much of the season, and then you go from it's early to halfway through the season, and Cat's missed a bunch of it. He still hasn't figured it out. I don't see it working, man. I just don't see it.
I don't either. But now they could turn to an unlikely source off the bench now when plugging this injury. Now, I think they should get this guy a 10-day. James, what do you think about this?
Look at this rim. He just destroys this rim. I've got so many questions. Okay. Does he actually play for the Bucks? Is he a free agent? He's a rookie, right? We've assumed he's a rookie, right? He's part of the Rookie of the Year race. He's
got to be. Yeah.
Gotta be.
He's in also, it now.
It took me a second to catch this one. What's he doing at Wisconsin, Kev? Why is he at Wisconsin? Is his eligibility up? Is he still got eligible? Like, what is going on? What is he doing, man?
He's an agent. He was an instigator. That's what I want. I want this guy's suit checked. That guy looked like an athlete, a massive
jacked.
That wasn't all suit. Yeah, that was crazy. I think he could have dunked it without the trampoline. He almost, check on his ACLs.
He falls, like he hurts himself. He's so high in the air.
Power and authority. That reminded me of Darvin Ham or a young Shaquille O'Neal.
5. Ooh, there you go. Young Shaq. I agree. A little power in there. At least top 5 in the NBA rookie rankings right now. At least.
Absolutely.
Do you think the Antlers, they'd be considered a dangerous weapon, though? Do we have to worry about that?
I think the Antlers at least need to be bandanaed. And what I think my question is how do you list his height then? Because that guy, that's an extra 3 inches.
There's a lot of, is it his head? Is it his ears? Is it, I don't know,
It's an additional advantage.
He's 7 foot. I bet he's 7 foot.
At 7'2".
Is he Victor? Is that Victor Wembanyama?
This guy makes me want the show or the sports slam ball to come back.
Well,
that's with authority.
I agree. Look, the platform below him is not his fault. It slides out. He's just trying to save his life. It just shatters. Look at him.
He hits him with the Michael. Hits him with the Michael Jordan, dude. He's like,
snaps the rim in half.
Come to the Bucks game this weekend. I don't know why he's trying to sell tickets. Like, well, sorry, I just ruined your experience here. Come out and enjoy.
Sorry, this game's ruined. We play down the road if you want to come on down.
So he's not the only emerging superstar that is coming out in the league right now. And our friend Nolan Brooks over at Stadium Rant, you can check that out right now, has written about his emerging superstars in the NBA award races. So James, my question for you is, and pick a race, pick your poison. Who do you see as an emerging superstar, an early favorite for one of the end of season
I
awards?
hate this, Kev. I hate that I'm going to do this. I hate it. I'm going to go sixth man and rookie of the year. I'm going to double them up. I think your boy Benedict Matherin's going to win them both. I think he's going to win them both. He's just he's got a little. He's been a little. He struggled here a little bit. He's got 4 straight games, 10 or more, just 10 to 14 points. But before that, 22, 23, 20, 21, 22. Like, I love Benny. I love him, man.
Yeah,
I think he's going to win them both.
I of course love him. I have also witnessed the recent decline.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a bit early to be hitting a rookie wall, so I'm not going to necessarily call
That's
it
what
that.
I think, yeah.
But I expect that to happen. So warning Pacers fans, because there are certain Pacer fans who are already starting to freak out about this dip in production. And it's like, no, just wait until we get past the All-Star break. That's when we're really going to find out what Benny's made of. And it won't be a slight or a knock to him if he struggles at that point. A ton of rookies have. It's called the rookie wall for a reason. But yeah, he'll play well. He'll continue to play well.
They're going to make the playoffs. Looks like they're sixth. I don't think the fire sale's coming to you. I don't think they're getting rid of him.
I have seen an interesting trade. I didn't have time to pull it up. It involved Miles Turner and a couple other players going to the Knicks in return for Obi Toppin, maybe Quigley and Fournier. And there was a third team involved, and I didn't like it at all. It felt like a Kevin Pritchard move in the sense that there were some additional pieces. There were some young wings, I think, involved that you're getting guys that with a lot of potential on a cheap deal. Like, it's the Kevin Pritchard special, kind of like, we're going to take this guy and we have faith that our coaching is going to develop him. And they have a decent track record of doing that. But at this point, if the conversations with Miles are good, I think they're going to be all in with trying to sign him. That's their best bet. I think they've seen enough, knowing what Halliburton and Matherin will be, and seeing Nembhard and what he's doing. Jalen Smith isn't getting talked about as much. That was a really big signing coming over from Phoenix like that. There are people out there saying, hey, if Miles goes, I won't cry myself to sleep seeing this guy play the 5 instead. So he's really young, has a lot of potential. We don't know exactly what we're going to get from him. So, but I think that the Pacers are going to make the push for the playoffs. I don't think there's going to be a big sell.
They're only looks like they're only half a game back from the 4 seed, like hosting a playoff game. Now that is Brooklyn. That's the team that's getting hot, but they're not. Now it's a log jam there from 4th to 8th. 9th, if you really want to count it, but they're not. They're right there.
And it's worth mentioning, I believe we'll have the weekend slate up here shortly, but I believe these two teams play. The Pacers in Brooklyn. Yeah, they do. They play on Saturday at 7. So we'll get a good litmus test as to where they're at right there, because, well, this is a topic on the docket for later, but Brooklyn is trending in the right direction right now. But the Pacers, they have, I mean, like you said, it's a traffic jam right there, but they're right in it. And one of the bigger reasons in the last week that they've stayed in it is the emergence of yet another rookie who may or may not have traveled on that play.
Man, the Steph Curry reactions is it.
When
people have looked at Steph like that.
Yeah, he got him with his own move, and he got him twice in that game. And it drew the ire of a lot of Warriors fans because Steph Curry got called for a travel on one, and it was absolutely a travel.
Yep.
But one could argue that move is almost always a travel. But I'm not Devin in the lab. I'm not here to make that argument today.
No, that's not us. That's his job. It's not us.
He's doing a great job. And you can go check that out on your own. So what do you think? Nembhard had, first of all, the game winner against the Lakers over LeBron, and now this big night. He has since the next night, Halliburton was back and was our main ball handler in that game, and Nembhard was off the ball, did not have the same impact whatsoever, but he has been impactful
Yep.
looking more and more like the steal of the draft as
Steal.
the first pick of the second round. So what are your thoughts? I've caught some vibes that statistically after his big game, he was a top 10 rookie. I think that's a flash in the pan. I think he's going to be awesome, but is he a legitimate contender to the rookie of the year for you?
I don't know if he gets to rookie of the year because I think his own teammate's the guy to beat in that one. However, if you're talking about a really good piece and a good role player and somebody that can play right, I think the biggest thing with guys like him is he wasn't an 18-year-old kid coming out. He played 4 years of college. He was at Florida for 3. He was at Gonzaga for 1. So he's not young. So he can step right into those roles and just hit the ground running. There is no ramp up, no time to figure it out type deal. And I think you're starting to see that he can slot in and play. 3 of his last 4, he's got 13 points. That game against Golden State, he had 31. He got 21 shots that game. What the heck?
Yeah.
5 of 7 from 3. You know, I think he's a good rotational piece for him. I think you're absolutely right. I think he's a steal. Those are the type of guys that can really help you fast track a rebuild if you can get guys like that in the draft. They got him second round, pick 31. You know, he wasn't early at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Those kind of guys, the glue guys is the term you hear a lot, where that can really help build a roster because now you're not having to be aggressive in the market and overpay for a role player and take away some of your budget. Now you've got this guy that you drafted. As Carlisle, every time Rick Carlisle talks about Andrew Nembhard, he raises that stake where he says, well, and when they redraft this 10 years from now, he'll be top 15. And now after the 31-point game, he said 10 to 12. So Rick's just going to keep hyping his
number
guy
1
up
by the end of the season. He'll be number 2 by the end of the season.
Yeah, it should have been Benny and Andrew, and everyone knows it. But the Pacers did pull that win out against the Warriors, and the Warriors had a bit of a meltdown. So let's watch it together. It was what a night is quite the way to describe it. So that's the very end of it, and I don't know why it's well, I guess apparently I didn't get the full clip, so my apologies there. But what missed,
what happens is they're down 4, right? Jazz were down 4.
Yep.
Yes, they get. So I think it's Malik Beasley's driving in left-handed layup, and Klay Thompson on the right wing just falls asleep. He's not paying any attention. Slides into the lane, and instead of going for a layup, Vic swings it to the wing, and the dude just buries it. So they're down 1. So down 1 with about it's not very much. It's not much left. So they were down 4 with 10 seconds left in that realm. So they're down 1, and they get a timeout, get it to half court, throw it to half court, and Jordan Poole gets whacked. Ball pops out, goes out 2 for 1, dunk, finish, game over. I have a wild stat. Did I write it down? Where's the Warriors notes I had? I didn't. Oh, yeah, there it is. That one. That's the stat.
Yeah, I was going to say, is it this? Yeah, here's a wild
1 in 718 while trailing by 4+ points inside of 10 seconds. That is an unbelievable stat. By the way, those jerseys are absolutely beautiful. Beautiful jerseys. Those are so sick.
Yep. I mean, big nostalgia play for me. If
Yeah.
they keep playing like this,
those are beautiful.
Gonna have to buy one of those jerseys.
But now, just a complete epic meltdown. And on a night when they didn't have Steph, they didn't have Wiggs, they didn't have Draymond, and Jordan Poole went for 30-some, I believe. Like, they had it. They're up 4, and just an epic meltdown at the end. And Clay's comments even said it. He's like, it's on me. I completely fell asleep there. I just fell asleep and forgot he was over there.
Which you can't have, and I think that's a bit telling from Clay. I won't put too much stock in it, but in that scenario, like, he's absolutely the leader on the floor, right? He's the only guy left. And before his injury, I don't think he was ever going to win any Defensive Player of the Year awards, but he was a good defender. He was a solid defender. He knew what was going on. He had defensive awareness. He wouldn't have made a play like that. Now, granted, luckily it's early December, so if you're gonna make those plays, now's the time to do it. But I mean, this helps the Jazz. It made this game a winnable game for them. The Warriors, I guess the silver lining would be that they got some more playing time for some of their younger guys. I don't have the stats.
Kuminga had a big game last night.
which is again, if they get him going, they're going to be
Oh.
something special. And
So
that
they've
it's just
lost back to back. They lost to the Pacers. They lost to Jazz. Let's get Kuminga's stats last night. He had 24 points on 13 shots, 10 of 13 from the field. He had a big night last night, which they need somebody. Their depth issues. They're having problems. That they miss guys like what's the glove junior? I can't think of his first name.
Gary Payton
Gary Payton
Jr.
Jr.
Yes, absolutely miss him.
They're missing dudes like that. Their depth is getting tested, and it's hurting. I mean, they had Ty Jerome played 24 minutes last night. Thompson, Poole, Kuminga, Lamb, Wiseman, DiVincenzo, Moody played a decent amount. Green played. Like, they just don't have the depth they had last year. It's really hurting them.
Yeah, and now they do sit.
Yeah, so what are your thoughts? Okay, so you got them. They're 10th right now. They're 13 and 13. They've lost 2. Are we worried about these guys yet? Like, what do you think?
I'm not worried yet because they're still 500.
Mm-hmm.
They've had guys not play, and I do think that early on, part of what the Warriors need to be doing is playing with lineups and getting Kuminga and these other younger guys. They need to play around with their rotation so they know what lineups will be best when it comes to the playoffs, because I do believe this is going to be a playoff team. They're not the only team in the West that has struggled. I'm going to pull it back up again while we talk about this. When you look at that, they're still a play-in team today. You look at the teams behind them. Okay, you think maybe LA and Minnesota will make a run to be up here. And I must admit, there aren't a lot of teams I'm looking at in front of Golden State that I expect to inevitably behind them. I would say I think Golden State will outpace Sacramento at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Probably Utah.
Probably
and
the Jazz,
yeah. And then I don't know how I feel about Dallas or Portland right now. I think the Clippers, when they get everybody healthy, if that ever happens.
Those two guys are still – I think they're supposed to be back this weekend. I think Paul George and Kawhi are playing this weekend, it sounded like. But go back the last 3 years, how often have they been on the floor together? It's not very much.
Yeah, it's one of those I'll believe it when I see it at this point. Until then I could absolutely see.
I would think Golden State could pass Portland. Dallas is the Lucas show. Our favorite team in America, the Jazz, are sitting there. Like, I think I see Golden State getting up there.
Me too.
Maybe they can't get top 4. We'll talk about the Pelicans a little bit. Like, it's 5. I don't know. I don't count them out. I think they are who they are. You know, I'm not going to freak out about them.
Absolutely. I know better than to count them out. And while I'm optimistic about the Warriors, I'm a little pessimistic about another team on this list that has been trending up lately, and that's the Los Angeles Lakers. Of course, we have to talk about them because Anthony Davis is back in form.
We are seeing prime AD for the first time since the bubble, probably.
I was gonna. That's what I was thinking too. Ever since that dagger in the bubble.
Yeah, he's been injured, and I mean, so he's missed the last game and a half with flu-like symptoms. I guess I don't know what he got pulled out of 2 games ago. He didn't play last game because of it. The 2 games before that, these stats are outrageous. Last Friday, he had 44 points on 27. He was 18 of 27, 2 for 3 from 3, 10 rebounds, 4 assists. And then this Sunday, he follows it up with a 55-point game, 22 of 30, again 2 for 3 from 3, and then 17 rebounds. Here's a stat for you, Kev. Outside these last 2 games where he got sick and then missed a game, he had 10 straight games with a double-double, at least 24 points and 10 rebounds.
If that's MVP, like that's the AD they traded for,
MVP,
right? Like,
that's MVP. That is who they traded for and who they thought they were getting, and they did. I mean, that's the title version of him.
Yep.
If he's playing like that, they're absolutely a playoff team, right?
I would think so. Let's do the same exercise just for the fun of it, but I believe so. Now, when we say playoff team, I am considering a play-in team a playoff team to an extent. I don't know that this is a top 6 team.
No, I agree. I think I'm talking just like you, that 8 to 10 or that 7 to 10 range of play-in team. Before they lost the last 2 with them out. Before that, they had won 5 of 6 with wins over Wizards, Bucks, Blazers, your Pacers actually beat them by 1, and then they beat the Spurs twice. But I feel the same way. Like if he obviously comes back soon and plays like that, they can get back on track. They're 6-4 in their last 10. Obviously, the 2-game losing streak hurts, but I can easily see them slotting in. I don't know if I believe the Trailblazers, the Kings. The Kings are better, but teams like that, I can see them sliding in and bumping.
Yes, I agree with that. I think those are still young teams, relatively speaking. A lot of the talent on those rosters is young, and those are the kind of teams that you expect to have a couple of slides throughout the year where they get on a tough road trip and it's a losing streak, and they're not maybe as equipped to handle it, and that's where the Lakers can gain some ground. I thought it was telling that in a game where LeBron and AD were not available, that Russ still came off the bench and that Dennis Schroeder was the leading scorer in their last game. So they have so kudos to him for embracing that role.
He haven't had any drama or anything with him, which is good. Like, good for him, man. Good for him.
I honestly, and I could be wrong here. It's weird for me to start a segment by saying that, but a part of me was wondering if that wasn't the game to start Russ, because we talked about earlier.
Maybe get him going a little bit.
Yeah, everyone thought this Russ thing would not work. The one concession I gave the Lakers when they made that trade was, well, at least on the days when LeBron and AD rest, you can just say, Russ, go be Russ, and he'll go triple double his way to beating bad teams for you. Mm-hmm. And maybe it might be pretty clear that he just can't do that anymore, but this was an opportunity to see. But instead they said, no, we're just gonna, and where I say it could be wrong, it might be a bad idea to give him that taste. And then now he wants to start again. I don't know. So in the laboratory, it sounds like a good idea, but they were probably smart to not do that. But it was kind of shocking to me to be like,
I agree with that. Yeah.
Nope, he's still not getting the start, even when they're not playing. So Russ off the bench is the new norm. So what's no longer the new norm is the Brooklyn Nets being bad. So
are they back, Kev? Are they back?
They look kind of back. I mean, let's look at that last 10.
Up to 4.
7-3 in their last 10.
Yeah.
They've got a tough matchup on Saturday. Let's see. I don't think they have a back-to-back. Are they both? Yeah, okay. They have a favorable matchup tomorrow night against Atlanta, who we'll talk about later. Yeah. Atlanta's put together with duct tape right now, poor guys. They're banged up.
They are, man.
So Kyrie has looked good. He was their leading scorer, I believe, in their last game.
He scored points. Yep, he scored 20 in 8 of the last 9. KD just won Eastern Conference Player of the Week. Last week he averaged 33, 7, and 5.5 assists. All right, so now they're doing this all without Ben Simmons. I don't know if that's good or bad. I don't know. Probably doesn't. It's probably irrelevant.
I think it's good, but I didn't pay all that money for Ben Simmons. But
I would be pissed if he wasn't playing too. But
yeah. I think he's done is my thoughts.
Yeah, are they figuring it out, Kev? They're part of that jam with 12 losses. However, they've got 14 wins compared to the rest of them.
Yeah. I think they are on their way to figuring it out. Here's a sentence I did not think I would say in December of 2022. But the Nets miss Bruce Brown. And you see him, I believe he hit a big shot for Denver a couple nights ago. And not that that's what you had him for. But it's just one of those things. I don't know if they have the depth. When you look at, so for instance, they signed Patty Mills instead of Bruce Brown. And I think about that. And I wonder, like, if they had just made that one decision, that one different decision, they might be set up better to just with one or two small moves at the trade deadline. Because in theory, like, if you have a healthy Joe Harris, Patty Mills isn't the Patty Mills that used to play for the Spurs. At this point, for the most part, he's a trustworthy ball handler, but he's a shooter. Yep. He's a floor spacer. You already have some of that. You already have Seth Curry and Joe Harris. So it would have made sense to have a premier, wing perimeter defender instead of another shooter.
Because they don't have that guy.
Right. No, who is I think what they thought was that Ben Simmons would be that guy. And I think that's why they felt so comfortable to just say,
Yep.
enjoy it. I don't think it was, oh, well, Royce O'Neal will do this. Maybe it was that. I don't think that's what it was. I think they thought it was Ben Simmons. But so now with him maybe not even playing for them anymore, they're really going to miss Bruce Brown. I think they make a couple moves though, and they're going to be in the playoffs this year.
Yeah, they've bounced back well, and I think you're right. They're going to be in the playoffs, and then you got KD and Kyrie. They're going to be a problem.
And here's the thing, though. I don't know if it's going to matter because some guys have all the luck. Wow. And look, you get both of them in this frame, too. It's beautiful.
They are. So, yeah. So, I had that wrote down in my highlights. We got the 1-versus-1 battle of the 1-versus-1 last night, East versus West, and the Celtics just massacred them.
It was not
they were up 40 in the third.
Yeah, just absolute embarrassment from beginning to end. Now it was Chris Paul's return.
Yeah, he didn't play a ton. I think he played 4 points, 4 assists, something like that. It wasn't but it was just his first game back.
He had his 4th foul early in the second quarter, I believe, or maybe
it was
first half.
Quick.
Yeah, so he got
only played 24 minutes. Yeah, 4 points, 4 assists, 4 rebounds. Only took 6 shots. Devin Booker had an awful game.
Are Ayton's numbers pulled up? Because I've heard some gripes about Ayton's
he had
lately.
8 points, 7 rebounds, 4 for 7 from the field. He had 4 turnovers. He's negative 28. All the plus minuses for Phoenix's starters are absolutely atrocious. I mean,
they may have messed that one up.
Yeah,
by bringing, and it feels weird to say it. Oh, go ahead.
It's just that one's so tough because you almost have to sign him because of everything he's done and what he means. But the playoff series was so weird, and the bad blood. It's tough, man. That one's so goofy.
If you're gonna sign him, and I can't disagree with what you just said, because even at the time, it made perfect sense to me that they would match that offer. But what doesn't make sense to me is that no one had a conversation with Monty Williams to say, hey, Ayton's coming back. You got to fix this. Yeah. And before we agree to pay him hundreds of millions of dollars,
you got to fix
I'm going to need your confirmation that you fixed it.
Yep.
I don't think, and that's his job to do that. Whether he was actually wrong or not, and that, because I think that's some schematics. I'm not here to have that argument
over here nor there.
The fact of the matter is, the organization is about to pay this guy a max deal. It's the coach's job to make sure he wants to be there. He wants to play. And currently the coach is the reason he doesn't want to be there and doesn't want to play. And it's Monty Williams. He's a great coach. I'm not suggesting they would get rid of him, but what I'm saying is they could have made this right. And now I don't know that they can. I don't know what fixes
I don't either. His stats are down across the board. He's half a point less than last year. He's averaging 0.4 more turnovers. He's fouling more. His rebounds are down 0.7. Shooting percentage is down a full percent. Free throw percentage is down. Like it's all across the board. His stats are down.
Yeah, it's not looking good. It's also not
as bad as it's not good as it looks for them. They're still second, so let's not freak out too much. Let's go back to the team that crushed them. How good are the Celtics?
That's a very good question.
We're both going to agree. Like, this is the team to beat. Like, these are the guys, right? Joe Mazzulla's done an unbelievable job with these guys righting the ship after everything they dealt with in the preseason, the Ime Udoka stuff. Like, they're absolutely the team, right? But he's probably the front runner for Coach of the Year.
He would have to be. Now, let us know in the comments, guys, who you think, the Coach of the Year is if it's not Boston, and if they are the team to beat, because that's what I'm hearing from everyone right now. And as much as I like to be a contrarian whenever possible,
this one's hard.
I have to see them cool down. Now, a natural regression is coming. I'm that guy.
I think
who
so
will say
too.
That. Like they're not going to stay this hot, right?
I don't think they can. Like, but man, they're good. They've got.
Look at that. Now this is old, 6 days old, but look at that
Yeah,
efficiency.
we found this the day after we did last week. It's unbelievable, dude.
And that's one of those things where, yes. So what I am saying is their offense has been astronomical. I
And we
don't
talked
know.
about how their defense had to get better, and it's getting better. It's gotten a lot better.
It's top 10 in efficiency. So what I believe that and they may stay number one. I'm not saying that they will not be the most efficient team in the NBA. I don't know that
They're
they'll continue to stay this efficient. You're going to miss shots
they're
eventually.
unbelievable. Like you just go through. I mean, they've only got 21-5.
Yeah, it's like they're playing on a lower difficulty early. If they put it in
Yeah,
video game terms, it's like, all right, man, it's time to up it. You're clearly you've maxed out
yeah.
here, but that's why I think at some point it's going to fall back. But
I
it
think so
may not
too. But
matter.
you've got a team that lost in the finals last year that had all the issues in preseason. Like a lot of people were expecting problems, and they have just Tatum's having a year, Brown's having a year.
Yep.
Your
Two
boy,
peak
the Brogdon
superstars.
trade has worked out perfectly for them. Now the question is, can he stay healthy? So far, so he's played a lot, but he had 16 points on 9 shots last night. Like that's what they needed. They needed that guy off the bench,
Yep.
and there's still a player missing. Robert Williams hasn't played a game this year and is not going to play for a while. Their best defensive player.
That's right. Yeah, worth not only their best defensive player, but one of the best defensive players in the league.
Yeah.
I would argue that if he had been healthy at the start of the season, could very well be in the running for Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, 100%. I would agree. Yes. Mm-hmm. How about Blake Griffin last night? 9 points on 3 for 4 from 3.
That's another one that doesn't get talked about enough because we kind of made fun of it when it happened. I was like, oh, well, Boston's making big moves. Al Horford and Blake Griffin.
Al Horford didn't even play last night.
That's insane too.
Blake Griffin's got 3 straight games of over 9 points. Good for him.
Bringing it back. He still can contribute, and I think there's something about that energy. And can you imagine? We only have a small insight into the insanity that has been the Brooklyn Nets. Could you imagine coming from that kind of environment and then coming here? Yeah, no wonder he's playing a little bit better, right?
Yeah.
He probably feels like he's found the fountain of youth.
Right? Like it's just so much as an organization, it's so much calmer. We say that with a head coach that got suspended, but
well, yeah, and
compared to the Nets, it's true.
And it's been interesting. It's worth noting, although we won't go into details, that, the Celtics have been getting called out by people for the way they've handled that situation. But I think within the team, they got their new coach, and now they have rallied. And I think it's almost for the players, although I won't say any of them are probably happy to have had to deal with that circus. It probably didn't hurt them in the sense of bulletin board material and a chip on your shoulder. Just gave them one more thing to circle the wagons about and say, okay, hey, we're gonna fight for each other and go get that title. And when you look at the standings in the league, you've got Milwaukee loss wise, they're only 1 game behind. Now they just haven't played as many games, so it doesn't look as impressive. But it is.
Yeah, the 21-5 looks so good.
Right,
that is so fun. In your opinion, are the 2 best teams in the Eastern Conference? Is it the Celtics and Bucks?
It is, and right now, and it feels so good to say it, having grown up in an era where the Eastern Conference was the little brother. It was LeBron and the Funky
our whole
Bunch
lives,
for 20 years. It's so nice to see some balance in the NBA and to be able to look at the full standings and say the 2 teams are at the top right now. They are the best, and they're in the same conference. Because Milwaukee, we talked about this last week, they haven't been whole in a long time either. They're going to get better. They might struggle early on, and people might get overly cautious when Middleton has to come back in. Guys have to adjust to their new roles, but once they will hit the ground running. And it's going to be those 2, I think. The Eastern Conference Finals, I think, will be the most entertaining series in the playoffs if it goes the way it should.
It's going to be so much fun. Yeah, I was just pulling up Middleton's stats. He's played 3 games, 12 points a game. He's just playing. He's around 28 minutes a game. He's not playing a ton right now.
Yep.
Which, like you said, it's going to just take some time.
Yep, they'll have him on a pitch count, and
100%. Yeah.
I think they are the team to beat, And as far as some of their contenders in the East, we look at this log jam over here in the 12 losses. Now we've got the Sixers who are starting to get healthy. We can talk about them, but the first team I wanted to talk to you about is the Atlanta Hawks, and they are hurting in all kinds
They're
of ways.
beat up, man.
And
I see a regression coming quick.
Yeah, they're going to fall out quickly. And I think much like with Minnesota, one of their issues is one of the guys that's out is the guy they needed to build chemistry with.
Yeah,
they needed more time with DeJounte out there, and he
just got hurt. He just sprained his ankle. He's out for a minimum of 2 weeks, unless he's like Ja Morant, and then back tomorrow. But we'll hope he sits on one-time thing. But yeah, he's out for 2 weeks. They've lost 5 of the last 7, and they got massacred by the Knicks last night, 113-89. I don't even think most of their starters played in the fourth quarter. They just got
that was
murdered.
bad.
It was ugly.
Yeah, almost as bad as that Celtics Suns game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was just wow. Yep. And I believe, what was it that the King of Broadway? I think Trae Young wrote the King of Broadway on his sneakers.
Shoes. Yeah. Whoops.
Oh, whoops. Well, if he goes out and scores 50 and they win, it looks great. But
he had 19.
But instead he had 19. So I think there's going to be a regression there. And a guy and a team that slipped through the cracks of our format, because I was going to talk about him when we were talking about the emerging superstars, but we've talked about some teams. I think it's a good time to talk about the Blazers anyway. So This was a stat that may not be perfectly dated now. It's 2 days old, but as of December 5th, the only 2 players averaging 4+ threes a game. That's pretty nuts.
It's impressive, man. That's wild.
And what we have is a Blazers team that's 13-11. Of course, now
and Damian's missed some time.
Yep. Yeah, so they have Dame missing time. We've got some Shaedon Sharpe improvements. We continue to see flashes of him. I don't know if you've gotten to see some of his highlights, but what do you think about the Blazers team? Do you feel at all at this point, are they a legitimate playoff team? What's your gut tell you?
I think they'll be in that 7 to 10 range. I think you're going to see Golden State come up and either the Kings or Jazz fall down. I think LA will fight in there a little bit. I think they are a playoff team. I think they're probably a play-in team. I think they're in that range. I mean, if you get Damian healthy in the way Anthony Simmons is playing, he had 45 the other night, 7 of 12 from 3. Followed it up against your Pacers. He had 22 on 5 and 9 from 3, shooting 57% in his last 2 games from 3. Like, he plays like that next to Dame. I think I don't think they're a top half playoff team, but I think they are a playoff team. I think they're probably that 7 to 10 range where they're going to have to play the play-in, but if they win, they get in. And then this team, you're kind of like, don't really want to play these guys in the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. Which kind of was going to be my next question, was if you thought because I think
with that kind of firepower, you don't like that. You don't like to play that kind of firepower.
And with a guy like Dame who can hit one from the logo to send you home and who has done it, not only the range, but the clutch situational deep.
He's been there and done that before. It's just a team I wouldn't want to see.
It's got first round Cinderella all over it. Like that's the kind of team that beats an unprepared 2 seed. Like they come in as a 7 seed and beat a team, and maybe it's a smaller thing like that. It's also a team that, maybe at the very least takes you the distance in the first round and ruins a playoff run. So look out for the Blazers. I think they're going to be spoilers, and they're another just young, talented team. You got the future. I'm telling you guys, if you haven't seen Shaedon Sharpe's highlights, a lot of teams were rightfully skeptical about him.
Didn't play,
so much offensive talent, man. He attacks the rim like he's got a grudge.
Yep, he'll get it figured out. It might take some time, but yep.
Well, let's dive into the weekend slate, James. I will let you pick now. We've got Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We got a little extra time today, so I've got all 3 available. But let's start with the Friday slate.
Where is my scores? I had it pulled up here somewhere. Where did I go? Okay, let's go Friday first. Let's take a look. First one. Oh, your Pacers got the Wizards, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I would like the Hawks Nets, but like we said, the Hawks have got injuries. That Kings Cavaliers 7:30 matchup is really fun.
That's the most intriguing one of
That's
the bunch to
fun.
me. I would say I like the Cavs at home.
I think so
That's
too.
yep.
11-1 at home. That's pretty tough.
So nasty at home. I
Yep.
like Philadelphia at home against LA because as weird as it is to say, I think Philly's healthier than LA right now, where it counts at least.
Yeah. If
They've
AD
got
plays, it's different, but we just don't know.
correct. I agree with that. And
But then
then
8:30 matchup. Here you go. 1 versus 2 in the West. The
yeah.
Pelicans are your 1 seed in the West. Are you a believer, Kev? Or are they frauds?
Oh, I'm a believer. I am so happy here. This is one of those. It's like Benny all over again, where it's like,
Yep.
oh, I feel like we've been priming the good folks at home, for the Pelicans for the last couple
Oh
weeks. Like,
yeah.
hey man, I'm here to tell you, this
Yep.
team got it right that year. It's weird, but that time away from Zion, I think, allowed other players like Brandon
Mm-hmm.
Ingram to really develop and grow, and they were very blessed, or they did a great job, maybe a combination of both, to get him integrated in a way that
Mm-hmm.
like they're firing on all cylinders, and they have at least 3 legitimate offensive weapons to attack you with. We got Ingram, we got Zion, and we have CJ McCollum,
Mm-hmm.
who's way too
Zion's been playing
it's
great.
way too easy to forget about CJ McCollum on this team.
Forget halftime. You forget he's on the team.
Which is deadly because he can quietly score 23 to 28 points on you.
Yep.
And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's had 30 plus point game. He can do more than that on any
Yep.
given night, but that's what you can expect from him. So
That's
I
fun.
yeah, I am excited about that one. So I will take New Orleans at home, although I think Phoenix is going to be
Phoenix will be ready to
really
play after
geared
coming
up.
off after that bad loss to the Celtics. They're going to be ready to go.
Yeah, and we'll assume that Chris Paul will right things. Although
He'll play better.
I think he'll get more minutes. I don't know how it's hard to make any judgments off of him because of the foul trouble. Then Utah,
Yeah,
Minnesota. I think that's a very
that's
interesting
it.
matchup.
Very fun. That's Rudy Gobert's homecoming. First
Yeah,
game back.
he'll be motivated and
Yep.
able, as we discussed earlier, to
Hmm.
have a bigger impact with his new
Yep.
role with Cat
I'm
sideline.
gonna go with the upset. I think Rudy Gobert leads the Timberwolves over. I think they get that win.
Ooh, I like it, but I'm gonna go against it because
Okay.
Utah is a notoriously tough crowd. They can be
They
tough,
are
right?
tough.
And I
Yeah.
think that
Hmm.
they will definitely sell out for this game and be ready. I think they're gonna focus a lot of their energy on Rudy. I think the Jazz faithful could, if they wanted to, they can treat this one like a playoff game and just have a really high energy. Like, I
Oh,
think
100%.
they
Yeah.
probably want to give Rudy the business. So I think the Jazz are going to win at home. Although I won't be surprised. It's a good time to make that pick. It's the flavors are right for the Wolves to do something. But
Yep.
I've learned my lesson about picking against the Jazz. It hasn't
Yep.
worked out well for me. So
And they got a
no,
good 10 o'clock game too.
yeah, the ESPN one, which I'm glad
Yep.
to be able to watch
Mhm.
some more basketball this week.
Bucks
What
at Mavericks.
who are you taking? The home team Mavs? Speaking of good
Ooh.
crowds, you got to always give
I'm gonna roll with I'm rolling with the Giannis train. You got MVP candidates here. Giannis versus Doncic.
it's going to be must see. Like
Yeah,
it
that's
is
a
must
gotta
see
watch game.
TV at
Yeah.
10 p.m. It's difficult, isn't it?
Yeah.
But thank God it's
Oh, that Eastern
Friday.
time zone is murderous on us.
I'm going to move out west just for this job. I
Right?
swear. It's going to make life so much
Oh
easier.
yeah, we'd be doing this at 2 in the afternoon.
I will say, because again, I sense a theme here with my Friday picks. It's a Friday night in
Mhm.
Dallas.
You're taking the home
Luca's gonna get
teams.
cooking. I think it's the kind of game that Luca will win,
Yep.
but I don't feel confident enough to put money on it. Let's put it that way. How about the rest of the weekend, though? We've got the full slate
Full
here.
slate. So Saturday, you've got the Brooklyn Nets coming to Indiana. Are you guys going to get it done, or is Brooklyn coming in to beat you guys?
Well, first of all, I'm gonna go check out the price for these tickets, and I may be there at this game. I
I've
might
got up a
go make
different.
it.
I've got ESPN thing. It says tickets as low as $17, Kev. That's what it's telling me right
Woo!
now. If you want to sit in on top of the arena, I'm sure right up there, there's a seat for you.
I do. I don't mind. The Nets are gonna win this game. It's unfortunate. I don't want
So
it to
too.
be the
I think so too.
case, The Nets are going to win
Good
this
test
game.
for him. Good test for Benny and Matt and Halliburton. But I agree with you. I think the Nets are just starting to get hot. So
Yeah, it will be. I mean, of course, they'll have a high energy. The Indianapolis faithful will be ready to go. I think the Pacers will put forth a great effort. Don't get me wrong. By no means do I think this is a walk away game where the Nets are resting their starters for the fourth period. I think the Pacers are going to give them a hard time.
And it'll be a good crowd. Again, that'll be a great crowd Saturday night. I'm the same way as you. They're not going to just blow these dudes out. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, I think especially Halliburton and Mathurin are going to have one-on-one matchups with some players. Like those are two young guys that like to test themselves. They've been pretty open and honest about that. We all know what Mathurin had said about LeBron and stuff, and I think it's great just to have that mentality. You don't want to start by just mentally, if you're just conceding that this guy's better than you, you've already lost. So you do, if you're going to go out there and step between the lines and play against those kind of guys, you have to believe that you're better than them, even if people like us will call you delusional. It doesn't really matter. And so
you have to, or you absolutely have to,
or you're done.
You got to think it.
Yep. So Mathurin against Durant and Halliburton versus Kyrie. That's what I was going to say. So all right. What about you? What do you got? What's the next one that
I
looks
scroll
good
all the way down? It's the big one. It's the 8:30. It's the finals rematch tomorrow night. Celtics Warriors. That's fun. The Warriors just rested all their dudes. Warriors are only 500. However, they're 11-2 at home. Who you got, Kev? Who you going with?
Finals rematch, 11-2 at home.
That place is going to be wild. That's going to be a raucous crowd.
I love that this has been a theme for all of these, but it's true, and it is going to be absolutely insane. And I think it helps that the entire world is telling everyone who will listen that this is the Celtics league right now. I think this is the perfect formula for the Warriors to come out and say, we're the defending champions, not them.
We are not done yet.
So I'm going Warriors, man. What about you?
I think so too, man. I love the narrative. I think it's everybody's going to be on the Celtics train. They just come off a monster win with that 40. I think it's Warriors. Warriors just rested, had a whoopsie lost. I am all about the Warriors tomorrow or on Saturday.
43 from Steph. 43 points from Steph.
I think he's going to have a monster game. That's fun. That is must-see TV.
Absolutely. And it's available. It's actually
ABC, baby.
Boom. They got it. I clicked the wrong one. We got that ABC. And right after it, I mean, there's two good matchups.
Two good late ones.
We got Utah at Denver. James, who would you take?
Fun. I love now they're different. The Jazz are a different team, but the Jazz Nuggets matchups the last few years have always been fun. I am going to go. I'm going to mess with you here, Kev. I'm taking the away team. I'm going with the Utah Jazz. I'm going with our hometown Jazz.
Oh, well, one of us has to pick the Jazz, so that's good. Yeah, if you didn't, I was contractually obligated to pick them.
It's a rule. It's a bounce rule.
I like what you said, though. Typically, this has been a great matchup over the last few years because both of these teams sort of embody team basketball. Like even the fact that, yes, Jokic, they have an MVP on their team. One of the first things people talk about him is his passing, so it's the assist numbers that get out there. These guys, both squads play a great brand of basketball, but I think Denver at home is going to win. This is my thing with Utah, why I'm not 100% sold with them. I mean, they have the ability to win this game. Don't get me wrong, but they just won their last game on a buzzer beater against a team that was resting 4 of its starters. So if this feels like this would be the game that the Jazz lose, and then they'll come back and get the next one. So I'm going with Denver on this one. Yeah, I'm going with Denver. Now we got Minnesota at Portland. This game is a lot of fun to me, a lot more fun than it might have been 2 weeks ago with Minnesota struggling the way that it was. But James, who do you like in Portland, Minnesota at Portland, 10 p.m.?
I'm going to go home team here. I like Portland over the Timberwolves. I like that. Timberwolves got a tough one Friday. They got the back-to-back. We talked about them twice now.
That's true.
They're at the Jazz Friday, turnaround, fly to Portland. I like Portland at home on Saturday.
Portland at home on Saturday.
Yep.
If it weren't for the back-to-back, I would go against you here, but the back-to-back does it for me. Yeah, now I will say Anthony Edwards, I think, look out for a big day from him on Saturday. But yeah, I'm going to go with Portland as well on that one. And Sunday we got some afternoon
Sunday
basketball.
afternoon basketball.
And it's
the old Suns Pelicans 1-2.
you little 1-2.
So they're playing back to back.
I was about to say they're playing back to backs, are they not? They got a Friday night and a Sunday afternoon.
Both in New Orleans. That's interesting.
What do you think about this one, James? Are they pulling the clean sweep?
I think they'll split. I'll take the Pelicans. I think you're going to get one Suns, one Pelicans this week. I think they'll go 1-1. They'll split it.
It's interesting. We're going to get to the same place by making opposite picks because yes, I also think the Pelicans win the first one. The Suns are going to win this one because they're still one of the best teams in the West. I do think right now these are the two best teams in the West, and the Suns, the problems that they have are technically fixable. They concern me a lot. Ayton concerns me a lot. Chris Paul's health has concerned me for the better part of the last decade. But they have some depth there. I think they'll be able to pull this one out.
Yep.
The rest of the matchups aren't super intriguing. We have a Milwaukee Houston down there you can't see.
Yeah, Milwaukee Houston's no good. I guess the other decent one is the Kings Knicks, depending on how you feel about both teams. Kings are doing good. Knicks are just all right. Knicks are coming off a monster win last night. But other than that, it's not a great Sunday, and they don't really want to compete too much with the NFL on Sunday.
Yeah, which is interesting. That's why their best game's on at 3, which would have been a decent time slot to catch that overlap, but then it's not televised. So
exactly.
They're just like, we'll call this one a wash. So I do think for NBA fans, those of you like to dig deep into those kind of matchups, if you have League Pass or whatever, I think a Kings-Knicks matchup could be very entertaining at the very least for the first half. It could be a lot of offense in that game. So there we have our weekend picks. Now, before we sign off, we always end with the picks, but I had one little tweet that I wanted to share with you, James.
You haven't shared it with me.
Give me an opportunity.
I was warned there was something coming. I haven't seen it yet.
To vent about something, maybe. Okay. But here we go. For those of you just listening, I will read this tweet from one Meta World Peace. He says, "I think the 2004 Pacers team beats any team in any era." Now, James, I have two questions for you. One, do you agree with the artist formerly known as Ron Artest about this? And two, do you have any idea why a statement like that might boil the blood of a diehard Pacers fan like me?
Let's get you to update me. Give me the 2004 roster. That's got to be Jermaine O'Neal. It's got to be Ron Artest.
Jamal Tinsley.
Who else? I'm missing.
Reggie Miller. Old Reggie Miller is on that squad. Steven Jackson is the other big name that you're missing. Thinking. There's maybe Al Harrington off the bench, I believe.
That would have been the right time.
Jonathan Bender, who would not have been a factor, but he was on that team. Probably maybe Jeff Foster. And at this point, we've run out of the names that were playing.
Yep.
But they had that big starting five.
Where did this tweet come from? So what is this?
Ron Artest, for some reason, has been welcomed back with open arms into the Pacer Society. He now does Twitter marketing things with the Pacers. He's done some autograph signings, and he for some reason once every couple weeks he'll just tweet about the 2004 Pacers.
It's just the 2004 throwback, just throwback right to them.
How great they were. And now, James, do you know why that particular tweet or those tweets about that team make me so angry?
Why? What do you think? Why do those tweets make you so angry?
Because that team was one of the best teams ever in the East to not win a title. One of the best teams in the Eastern Conference that year. And the only thing that ruined that season was a little event called the Malice at the Palace. Started and escalated by one Meta World Peace.
Who started and did it? Who was
back
the guy?
then known as Ron I just punched you in the face, Artest.
Yep.
So, yeah, it pains me like no other because not only that, the story goes on, kids, the Pacers stood by their man, as Loretta Lynn would say, and didn't trade, and then he demands a trade. After they
Yep.
they let him sit through the suspension. They said, he's our guy. We're going to suck it up. We're going to get through this BS. And then he
Yep.
demands a trade. He needs a fresh start. So he single-handedly ruined what could have been the most legitimate chance the Pacers have ever had to win a title.
Yep.
If you for those of you who
In
don't
the last
remember,
20 years.
that
Easily.
Pistons team won the championship that year.
Yep.
Now, you have to say it would be that Pacers team against the dynasty, the super team that the Lakers had built with the aging Gary Payton and Karl Malone.
Yep.
I think that Pacers team beats that Lakers team, but I will always get to play that game now because of Meta World Peace. So yeah, Ron, please stop. You heard us enough. Don't come back 20 years later to rub my nose in it like a dog. Like that's not fair. Leave me alone. You go hang out with Lakers fans. They have fond memories of you,
stop.
Ron.
Enough's enough.
And change your name. I'm sorry. And anyway, on that happy note, that has been it for us at the Bounce this week. Be sure to check in with us every Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern. And be sure to head over to Stadium Rant to check out all of our articles. You can subscribe to this channel to check out Necessary Roughness every Tuesday. And of course, there's our Patreon over at Stadium Rant, over at Patreon, Stadium Rant at Patreon. So check that out. James, where can they find you? What do you got in the mix coming soon?
You can also catch me, the Titans Tilt podcast twice a week. We had an emergency podcast this week. Big week for Titans fans. We fired our GM in the middle of a playoff run.
Somebody knows how to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Just you don't. Right. Here's a side note, NFL related, Kev. We're going to have a 30-second comment. How wild is it that the Tennessee Titans, who are about to make their 4 straight playoffs, have 6 straight winning seasons, fired their GM before Kevin Ballard got fired or Chris Ballard?
It is insane to me. It makes sense because the Titans are a well-run organization. And I think when you have high standard or a better run, maybe when at least they have higher standards for themselves. And I think maybe let me ask you this counter. Was it AJ Brown? Was that what it was? Watching AJ Brown do that?
AJ Brown was the nail in the coffin, was the nail in the, because the Titans roster's decimated. They got severe deficiencies, and that's one of the spots, and they'd let him go. And he immediately after the game talked about wanting to be a Titan forever. But then you've got like the Isaiah Wilson draft pick that he's not even in the league, and then Caleb Farley, who had back surgery today and is never going to ever play for 10. So there's more blown draft picks and signings to it. But I think you hit it on the head. Is our standard is here. He raised that standard, but the standard is there, and it's got to be better than that. I actually agreed with it. It's wild, but I agreed with what we did. I think they shortchanged this team by the way they signed guys and cut guys and drafted, and it's hurting. We're going to win the South by default. We're good enough, but the rest of the South is bad.
It's so bad. It's so bad. Well, there you go. There's a nice little sample for you guys. So go check James out over at the Titans Tilt podcast. Another part of the Stadium Rant podcast network. You can also find me over at the Indy Intercept podcast. Another part. It's on that same feed. So you'd better subscribe. You can get more of both of us. We just had an episode about an hour ago. I just wrapped over there at the Indy
That's why
Intercept
we went a little late tonight. I had to bend my schedule around for Kev tonight, which is great because he's bent his for me a few times.
Well, I appreciate it. And I appreciate all of you for coming out, hanging out with us. Make sure to leave us comments. Let us know. You can tweet at us. Our handles are on the screen. And get us some questions. We'd love to answer. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, thank you so much. We'll see you again.